you want.
Hey! Now, stay calm.
half the organization is professional baseball. It's got non-observable nerve damage in the elbow. You can't throw. You can't throw it. You can't do it. Like, every sort of stuff. They're on day, and on day, or what? It's on base. So you want to get lost or hit. Yeah. What do you want to talk about first? Divided by 3. 364. Three ball players, Number 2. Okay, number 3. Scott Adams. Can't throw it. Yeah. That's okay. This is what we want. Number one. Brother Jen. Really good trouble. If I may, if I talk about we know it's on base percentage goal with it. You haven't kicked on base an awful lot. The guy who won't talk to one base all the time. Number two, David Johnson. No, it's a good idea. Old man, you got to play that contract and don't get it. It's the time. Well, you can take something contract and you can live with it. Exactly. So David plays a lot of money because really does like take it down here. You can dog it. A lot of dogs. So much. You're going to get it. They got to go on. That's why they really have to really adapt to it. What did you do? What do you want? Okay, number three. John Adams. Making up the mail already. Yes, that's all. Well, I think in the end, well, that's I think you're going to get a guy like half the organization that knowledge there with reserve damage available. Yeah, bro. Guys, that's your force on that point of view. They're on day, we're going to get on day. Tell you what, just on base. Your card count. That's the last one. Yeah. He doesn't have Your card guy at the blackjack game. That's really obvious. I don't experience it, guys. I think he has some remembrance. Man, he answers to no one except ownership and God. And he doesn't have to know himself. That's all fine and well. Just working our asses off. A lot of things that happen. They make this boss up better here. Hey, it's not as good. Expecting baseball to entrench itself further into the lockout from hell. But it's as if they realized the sport would be in deep shit if they didn't come together. Despite tension still simmering, an agreement was reached. MLB will be returning relatively on schedule. Spring training has begun with haste. There is much to go over in an off-season full of drama and disparity. Certain beats may be incredibly cheap, but even they can afford the sponsor of today's video in Raycon. Their everyday earbuds are the perfect acquisition to not only save money on payroll, but win games with efficiency. They look, sound, and feel even better than ever. Today, my pick for attention to elevate this great game of baseball. These earbuds and my playing ability have one thing in common. They will not buzz. Boasting 8 hours of playtime and over 32 hours of battery life is perfect for anything from lounging around to hardcore training sessions. Over 48,000 5-star reviews and starting at about half the price of other major brands, it's worth to try them out for yourself. If you're not convinced, click the link in the description box and go to myraycon.com/U3 to save 15% off your order. That's the everyday earbuds from Raycon. They also work well when discussing the 30 teams in baseball. What are their season's expectations like?
of the world, one of the team's highest paid players, the deferred buyout of Chris Davis's albatross. It would have been Carlos Correa and a $300 million contract, but that fell through in the end. The Orioles offered that to Correa? There aren't enough dollar dog nights to get people to come to this shit on the line. The only option is to trade for Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez. Everything else will probably be traded by July. You know what else you have in this brutal division? Potential return of Matt Harvey. He's not going to be cheap to get us through another year. Last year was a mere reloading to a previous run that had been expected of them. Much to the chagrin of everyone now in Boston, the Red Sox are preparing for their eventual journey to the promised land of loading over the Yankees. The starting rotation is high risk, high reward. Added to with former Yankee James Paxton and the living legend of Dick Mountain. They now bring Jackie Bradley back for another go-around. But there was something bugging being done. They lack a legitimate stamp of certification for OffSeason. Why not fortify the infield with a potential longer complement to Jefferson Logan? Colorado 3.4 is now allowing to introduce Trevor Story. It's okay, Trevor, you're allowed to breathe the air. It doesn't count extra here. What does is pushing for another World Series. With an elite infield on paper, it should be closer than they realize. The rest of us great. The fortunate thing with this new age of hell is that only one of the Yankees or Red Sox can have momentum at any sort of time. In this case, the Bronx gets to experience relatively the same thing. Anthony Rizzo's back and taking for them right. The free agents are pursuing the hot item. He thinks in charge, Danny George. No, you'll take your 18-year-old Raymond Isaiah kind of believe that lucky. Got rid of Gary Jenkins bluntly. Once isn't that good enough? That's what the Yankees seem to be aiming for. Just good enough. Throwing every single leg they have into the basket of Anthony Volpe. I'll give them credit for trying to cultivate a great order within, but you're the Yankees. You have expectations. Fans aren't going to like this patient approach. Do you see what Boston's doing? You can't fucking let Tampa Bay one up you. It's the second home to the Bronx. Great cycle of talent will continue on in St. Petersburg. You learn to never question their message. There will be incredible bounties never lavished upon the Rays for their cutting-edge techniques. Wander Franco is emerging as one of the best talents in the game. Before he strides out of the team entirely, they paid him an unbelievable haul for a second-year player. The most impressive thing about this contract is that it'll match his value and then some. But the reliable Corey Kluber is now part of the rotation, but they keep to in the minor league system. There's so much more on the way. There will be plenty to keep an eye on in their great quest to secure a World Series on a budget. However, there was one thing that was a blemish to their greatness. That was their half-baked desire to go half-baked with Montreal. Rare stroke of sanity by baseball, they realized that the idea was not only idiotic, it would blow up spectacularly. The plan was scaled up. A disaster was averted, but then they do the right thing and mend the fence with Tampa. Now that's where their best future is, but can they admit it? Last year was merely a taste of what the New Age Blue Jays could do. They returned to Canada full-time. Now they will return to prominence. Your great players may be gone, but look at what they have added for the pitching corps. Yusek, Kikuchi, Kevin Gausman, and Jimmy Garcia are huge pieces. It's what Toronto needs to get to that next level. Locking Jose Barrios up for 7 years is another piece to the puzzle, but something is missing. They know they need to finalize the infield, beating a league first or third baseman. Their final decision was buy at the Great Oakland Fire Sale. Matt Chapman is outstanding. Should be a great depth option for a lineup that should destroy any pitching rotation in its path, even in the AL East. All those according to plan, they may be able to be something special. That's a word I don't use lightly. With their talent, as long as the bullpen gains consistency, they should compete for the top of the AL. All I hope is that it doesn't fall apart.
Canadians are builders. Nailing, framing, and installing have made us who we are. For whatever the build, there's one place that has everything. Build anything. Here's how.
Okay, so for the hike, there's a bunny trail or the Devil's Battle.
White Sox emergence into the elite of baseball, there are certain expectations of what is to be done. This regard is bolstering and tweaking to find the perfect balance between youthful core and veteran experience. Signing the likes of Josh Harrison, Joe Kelly, and Kendall Raven should help with both the bench and bullpen, but Ken Kimbrell hasn't worked out yet. His closer in a setup goal clothing. Trading him to the Dodgers for A.J. Collins should be a needed refresh for those fans. Even if they made a premium for Timberwolves and Denmark, but let's forget about all that. Some fans may be laughing, the Southside should be outstanding this season. The only thing that can stop them is injury and underperformance. Remember the character of Biggie Tommy John Man. Not to mention Lance Levis and Jordan Hennessy. It's Bullis with a new name for the team, but old habits die hard. Organizational keepness has got the historical simulation of American expansion at least several years of playoff runs. What they did was so predictable, it may as well rise to be absolutely nothing. Anymore is awful, no need to try to fix it. They can get the win 4 times this season. I get they're a small market franchise, but they already been sliding. Should have got off the pot, Cleveland. You aren't going to make a good faith effort to compete in trade, Jose Ramirez. You're too talented to run on such an awful lineup. Good news and bad news are that they are. Jose's getting paid the richest contract in Cleveland's history for carrying the sad sack to relevance. I already know this is going to go. Some 50 goals will keep them in the playoff hunt, but 13 cheap punts will cost them any chance at greatness. Know how I know? And their calling cards for the last 3 seasons. It's always a shock to me when formerly dead franchises finally lost a little spending money on players and talent. Mike Ilitch rose from the grave and compelled his son to invest in the franchise again. They did overachieve, but this may be their chance to strike. There are plenty of great free agents in the world. Tigers will take a swing at a free-swinging dynamo and Javi Baez. They'll fulfill an organizational need long term. No need them with the likes of Riley Green and Spencer Torkels to come into their own. Don't stop then. And Austin Meadows to win a growing outfield. The good core will begin to form. Investing in the future will only lead to what was in Mr. I during his final year. Carlos Correa almost came along, but the late owner's power was only so strong. Couldn't find for more money to lure him in. There are more sentimental achievements to relevance, like Navy's inevitable 3,000 hits. It's been so long since he's won a ring. In order to be Dodgers successful, last season for the Royals there were flashes of outright brilliance but no consistency. 2022 Kansas City will choose to add to their legends by means of talent inside and outside of the organization. Pitching Amir Garrett is here to hopefully rebound and not see the Pittsburgh Pirates. But his old faces return. His weather-proof years of journey will now lead a young stack of greatness. Zach Greinke and Tom Hall. Definitely not the most important ball player in the series to return, but it's pretty hard to beat that guy out. Royals are a low-key sleeper considering how things are happening. It'll be a long shot, but considering their highs last year, it may be closer than we think. Daylight savings time may have passed, but there was only one clock that Kansas City followed. The Bobby Witt Jr. standard. Greatness has been teased and murmured about from coast to coast. This season is when we should finally get a taste of such magic for ourselves. It will be a boom to baseball. I can't wait to see it. I'm the only one who's confused as to what Minnesota's doing. Last year was brutally disappointing, but the apparent solution to running into a brick wall over and over again is to keep running into it before your bones break. The names they brought in symbolize one thing. They need to break through. Sammy Gray to revitalize an ace and beleaguered pitching staff. Giovanni Urshela to replace an aging Josh Donaldson. Gary Sanchez released from his prison sentence as Yankee whipping ball. And Carlos Correa, he went here. You'd think he'd go for more of a long-term contract, but he's gambling on opting out in the next season or two. Still a weird choice of piece to trade. I guess if they can stay healthy and their pitching can revive from last year's slump, perhaps Minnesota earns another chance at breaking their curse. In all seriousness, how the hell was it that they ended up with the Rams? The succubus relative in your son. You know why. Taste the glories of another championship, but you can never experience it for yourself again. London odds for that deal with the Devil in 2017 will continue to take its toll. You thought it was just the Texans and Rockets suffering with catastrophic playoff loss. No, sir, that's just an optimistic line of thinking. Zach Greinke is the main cause of doing business with her. He was expendable thanks to their young pitching. Remember when we needed to sign Carlos Correa? Yeah, about that. He's got the back with some short-term money. It shouldn't be a catastrophic loss, but losing that much star power in the span of a few years obviously can't be good for the team. I only wonder if last season was their best shot. We still have Altuve and Bregman, but Bregman's going to want to get paid sooner rather than later. They keep up in the AL West. Most of their rivals are trying to bolster themselves. Yes, the Angels, you don't want to be associated with that. New teams make me more infuriated than that. Mostly because they should be a lot better than what they are. Shohei Ohtani even has a role named after him so we can display more of his greatness in the batter's box. Mike Trout's coming back. Great prospects in the hitting ranks coming up at a dollar mark. Justin Upton cast off to be paid to play elsewhere. Anthony Rendon hopefully not being injured to hell and back. And be more hopeful, but one horrifying addiction the Angels can't break is their fixation on one-year pitching experiments. I like Rachel Iglesias and Archie Bradley as well, but that's not it. We're talking about Noah Syndergaard. $21 million for a guy who's only pitched 2 innings in the last 2 seasons. It's not a 6-year contract to Max Scherzer, but this is close to it if it blows up in their face. Marty Moreno is definitely afraid of reaching the luxury tax threshold, and his moves have shown more than enough of that. We all know it's Moreno pulling the strings here. Please get him out so the Angels can finally live up to their potential. Unpermit all you want, but the writing was on the wall long before this moment. More than concrete rumors of wanting a $40 to $50 million payroll didn't need Sherlock Holmes to detect what was going on. Barring a salary floor, there would be mercy. Good news for John Fisher's record, there's no cap floor. Drop the nukes on this godforsaken franchise for as long as you want. I agree that Oakland wasn't good enough for the Angels to play for a World Series of the Several, but this is a team that needed swag. Don't blow everything sky high. When I say everything, I mean every goddamn thing. The early estimates were being timed. Now down to a $35 million payment. This is before Frankie Montas comes up. Welcome to hell, Oakland. Sandbagging to get fans apathetic enough to allow for a potential move. The only hope for baseball here is in Howard Terminal. I hate to say it, but there's been a major setback. California happened, and an advisory board recommended against changes to the terminal. As I mentioned, a lawsuit is being filed against the project. Oakland, you have 2 months to get your shit together, or else the A's are moving to Las Vegas. Their patience is running thin. It's been over 20 years since the Mariners have even come to taste the glories of a wildcard game. That is humiliation in its own right. They may have vastly overachieved considering every measure in the book, but all they need is a stronger hitting core to realize their greatness. Jerry DeMotto isn't a slouch. He will do everything in his power to fulfill potential. Adam Frazier is the leadoff option. Eugenio Suarez is an overpaid reclamation project, and the true prize is Jesse Winker. He will be the yin to Mitch Haniger's gang. A legitimate two-headed power option that will strike fear in every pitcher facing them. Their prospect pool is still loaded with talent. Don't forget about Jerry Kellening's potential progression and Julio Rodriguez's torrid spring. The future here is somehow bright, but I'm reserved. Remember, they used this greatness more than once before, only to fall flat. I'm cautiously optimistic. Have to keep my bases covered, you know. One of the greatest traditions in Texas Rangers history is throwing money at nearly every single thing with talent that moves. Short-term fix to a long-term problem that usually never works out in their favor, but by God, it won't ever stop them from trying to get back to the promised land. They need great bats to mask how awful their hitting core has become after the deadline. Their answers for it? Strong offensive catcher in Mitch Garver, one of the hottest shortstops in baseball in Corey Seager, and an over 30-second baseman in Marcus Semien. He's coming off a career year in his own right. Over $500 million invested in these men. This never backfired on Team Tendon. My issue isn't with the hitting. I think all 3 of them will be fine, but what about pitching? John Gray's a start, but that's another great tradition of Rangers baseball. Electing it to whether either rush prospects to ruination or sign guys who don't fit their organizational philosophy. At the very least, their games will hopefully be offensive slugfests. We hope not for the other team.
You can click to buy, or you can click to save. Get smart interest when you save $200 or more in a month.
For yesterday's flight route, last week's gift check, the Thursday box out, this icy hot contrast relief icing the shoulder pain time to relax the way ice line rise from pain.
After an unprecedented World Series battle after losing both their best hitter and the pitcher, the Rays had a lot of dilemmas headed into the offseason. The main one, Freddie Freeman. Great Lakes was with the playoff window of all the dark ages of tanking and the championship awards of it all. Fundamental of saying goodbye is baseball is business. Freeman was going to be paid well on the market, and the Rays chose to go elsewhere. These bitter feelings probably lasted for about 5 minutes. This is because they went out and replaced him with another elite first baseman in Matt Olson. He's not only younger than Freeman, but he was extended at a rate that will make him a longtime stalwart of the club on his own. Yes, it's not Freddie Freeman, but Ronald Acuna's coming back. Not to mention they have Kenley Jansen for the bullpen. Starting to dip from his greatness, but he's still damn good. They'll need him too with Luke Jackson. Any World Series champion will tell you that defending a title is rough. James will learn about how perilous this road is shortly. There's trouble in paradise. Marlins had a bitterly disappointing season, but I'll give them props for trying. Try to fix your massive catching deficit with a trade for Jacob Stallings, who at least get that. The next Stallings probably won't hit like that again. It's still better than what they had. There were rumors of Miami looking to expand their payroll. And Jorge Soler was brought in to boost their home run totals and fan interest with the Cuban population. But it feels like there's a contrast in between ideology. Why do I mention this? It might have to do with the fact that Derek Jeter stepped down as CEO. There could be something sinister happening. Ownership might not have been willing to spend for what Jeets wanted. That killer pitching staff needs to be supported more. I don't know if they can or want to do it. That's the problem. Turmoil in Miami baseball. Hardly he's coming back to this point. Fans love him. Owners loathe him. The Wilpons sit in the back counting their money from the sale of the team. All this and more is in part to Daddy's scheme. There's a reason why they're calling the upper luxury tax tier point the Cohen threshold. It's because he's going to do everything in his power to buy the championship for Queen. Even exceeding the threshold named after him. For whatever reason, this seems to be bringing in a shit ton of players from the Oakland A's. Marcana, Starling, Marte, and Chris Bassett expected to bolster the outfield and starting rotation. That's nice and all, but the Mets need more power. Injuries destroyed them last season. They need to give Billy Epler and Buck Showalter everything they can for glory. That man is Max Scherzer, the heterochromatic legend destined for Cooperstown. First, the trip to Queens will be paid over $43 million a year. It's making more than some team's entire payroll. There are no excuses this season. They hired Buck Showalter? Did they not see how rough he was during his long years in Baltimore? But let's be real, even he can't fuck this up for the Mets. They'll probably go to Jacob DeGrom being shut down for a month due to arm issues. Oh, God, not again. If you roll with Dave Dombrowski, cutting payroll is not an option. You can talk a game of being frugal, but then Dave will cut off one of your lips and feed them to his pet hair and the blood-hungry sharks.
Well, he's already a 70 overall. Nice. He's a fucking girl, but beast.
Forward is here to hit literal bombs into the bleacher. This will mostly be done at City Field, as all good men should do.
Yep. I think I may have to trade Brody. I don't all these guys today coming up and ready to start playing, so.
Their metrics suggest that they'll be able to unfold the rubles currency exchange rate. You do have a damn good starting rotation, but how about that bullpen? Paying good money for the likes of Yoris, Amelia, and Brad Hand. They think this was 2018. Been garbage for a few seasons now. Dave? Has anyone ever updated your scouting report? A hard reset is underway. Saying goodbye to longtime faces last season was tough but necessary. It's not all bad, however. Nelson Cruz will continue his ball-swatting excellence as a PhD. And Juan Soto is still as potent of a player as the Nats have ever seen. Only he's agreed to an extension. Washington has tried to pay him the big bucks, but Soto is waiting for his time. It will come. Many will throw endless weights of money at them to hit with authority for their team. Speaking of the Nationals, they're hoping for something better, but considering the rest of their division adding, I'm not that optimistic. They'll need some serious development from their prospects to have any hope for the future. You're to keep them? It'd be nice if you played up to your prospect status. Not falling to 2-3 yet again. The old core is gone, but that doesn't mean the Cubs aren't trying to revitalize what was once their greatest era. They'll do it with new faces this time around. Young prospects in return to the trades of last season will be emerging soon. Marcus Stroman is freed from the clutches of low Mets to be a mid-rotation starter and all Mets fans' cancer. Perhaps rightfully so. Four-man Tommy Baez and Jonathan VR is going to be a competent stopgap for the time being. But the real prize is international play. One of the greatest players out of the rising sun in a long time. The new face of the Cubs franchise, Seiya Suzuki. All goes according to plan, he won't be the second coming of Yosuke Fukudome. Never mention that name to Cubs fans. There will be nothing but pain. I only hope that won't be the price to pay for wiping the slate clean. I've always been bearish on the Reds, and this season has justified it. thought Oakland was the only team launching nukes on their own organization? Oh, baby, you ain't seen the aftermath in Cincinnati. Thanks to cheap ownership, nearly every star player not locked down to an unmovable Akiyama and most of their better hitters are gone. This includes Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker. A horrible price to pay for the cost of shedding a Eugenio Suarez. Cincy may have outstanding prospects in youth, but what does it all mean when the organization refuses to spend a fortifying? Am I supposed to be impressed with Tommy Bay? The actual hell are you doing? Saving pennies means nothing when you eventually bleed dollars. I don't know if those cut payrolls and TV contracts are worth it in the end. This team has become irrelevant. This year might be aggravating to witness. Nobody's wondered about how elite their pitching core and bullpen. We're all aware how blistering the Brewers are in that regard, as they should continue to be for a while to come. The question has always been in the batter's box sitting more than the local bar. The main reason why they couldn't go far last season. While they didn't splurge much on options, it doesn't mean that they failed to try. How else could you describe the greatness of Ashton McCutcheon? As a DH, I might add. Under retro for roof in the lineup. Yes, but there should at least be some semblance of development from the bats this time around, right? You expect Yelich is back to heal up this time, right? They won't waste that killer starting rotation again, right? We even need to go over that. Everyone knows the Tankathon is running at full speed. They're going to suck harder than anyone has ever sucked before. We'll see you when they trade for Reynolds for romantic beat. Or when they extend to Brian Hayes. Holy shit, the Pirates spent money at the apocalypse. He is old. He should have never left, but the prodigal son has returned hundreds of millions of dollars richer and fresh off a divorce. Albert Pujols will have his last ride as a Cardinal, where he belongs. Be a year full of feels and nostalgia that hasn't been experienced since Derek Jeter's ego drove her around the world. Final ride for Pujols, Yadier Molina, and Adam Wainwright. Cardinals legends bowing out with what will probably be a World Series run, because this is how this unbelievable bullshit works. With every joy in fields, there's slightly less joy with emphasis on feeling. Head over to Busch Stadium to find out for yourself. There's even a Steven match for the rotation to help out. Everything else will probably be some incredible bullshit from within the knowledge. We'll somehow win 90 games. It'll take 9 years for Bulls to get back to Anaheim. Arizona is lost. The last season's free fall from hell, they're really assuming it was an aberration and are trying to strive for that wonderful mediocrity that essentially teams try to reach. Their offseason, they didn't do too much. Once again, they're trying to say that last year was a fluke that won't be repeated. With a team that didn't take this hashtag Davies to the rotation or Mark Melanson to the back of their bullpen, I know exactly what you're thinking. It has to do with the Diamondbacks having no idea what to do or where to go, and you'd be correct. They don't want to take a bath of their losses, and it's completely understandable. The issue is they're not good enough as constructor to do anything in the division they're in. I won't give them credit for extending Ketel Marte. He's an incredible talent. All I ask is that you keep him where he's best in the NP. We'll at least cover up the massive issues with Lewis Gable with Chase Payton. Now we can see why they're clamoring for renovations. What the actual fuck? I can't read Colorado at all. They had tens of millions of dollars to get rid of their franchise base. Do nothing at the deadline last year and fit their pants. All the while they let John Gray and Trevor Story leave for almost nothing. It's embarrassing enough that they almost spent $180 on us all and throw a massive contract out to Chris Bryant. Yeah, the situation was untenable, but in this case, why the hell didn't you just keep Arenado? Traded for Randall Pritchard and extended Ryan McMahon too, which is great. Probably won't be enough to be anything more than mediocre in the division, but that's what the Rockies want. Onward surrender biddings have spent just enough to get assets to come to the ballpark. That will work wonderfully until they trade them all for random trinkets at 3 years' time. Don't give me the argument that Brian has a no trade clause. Never stopped them from trading Arenado. You're seen as the cream of the crop. You'll do everything in your power to stay that way. The Dodgers have been burning millions of dollars in the hope of winning glories beyond their comparison stage of Obama. Today, new rivals force them to keep pushing for greatness. The names of the Little Brother complex in San Diego and the rich daddy money bags that keep going. Pitching is a question mark, but they'll find enough to somehow be really good. Like Kershaw is back for another round, so it helps as long as he stays healthy. Trevor Bauer's still stuck in the league of absence, but he could eventually be free to strike out batters and be a colossal douchebag. The bullpen is loaded up with Craig Kimbrell, who had a renaissance last year with the Cubs. He knew that he fell off a bit with the White Sox, but that's why he was so cheap to get for them. The true prize is Atlanta's great hero in Freddie Freeman. and will solidify first base for at least the next decade plus. LA will create a murderer's row that rivals the 27 Yankees in their minds. Look at this lineup. All you have to do is see the names and tremble in fear. Cody Bellinger somehow remembers that he can hit baseballs with authority and may be the best hitting core in recent memory. It's so great that Dave Roberts has guaranteed a World Series for Los Angeles. Very bold, Dave. Those statements tend to never blow up in a team's face. We confirm this great project is falling apart in front of us. Last season's collapse still lingers in their mouths, like a bitter pill swallowed for 2 straight months. What would the Padres do to try and correct this sweep? Technically, it's probably fixed with bringing in Bob Melvin.
Drew's crushing it right now down there. He is crushing it, dude.
Most options for them have come up short. All attempts to get the instantly regrettable signing of Eric Hosmer of Faith. Good boy is taking over. However, they didn't go away empty-handed. The Oakland Fire Sales brought them John Manaea to potentially make them one of the best rotations in baseball top to bottom. My question is, how long can the Padres keep doing this without the ball? We saw what happened last season. Another year of this may mean the end for Brothers Gradle and experiments. I have more hope for their efforts. Before Fernando Tatis Jr. decided to try and imitate Easy Rider. Busted up his wrist and is out for a few months. Ventured with 2-wheelers and injuries, something the NOS knows all too well. My main view with San Francisco is wondering if they're merely a one-year wonder. I know I shouldn't think like this, and the Giants are trying to make sure it isn't the case, but how will they do without the likes of Kevin Gausman and Austin Posey? How much true skill of their men still have in the tank? Will their youth help out in the process? Then again, these are the Giants. Their efforts are like creating an endless oasis in the Sahara. Having the likes of Carlos Rodon, Alex Cobb, and Matt Boyd for the rotation should be excellent. Matt Boyd will be the next big revitalization project for baseball in the coming age. It's the long. This merry band of misfit reclamation projects and top prospects will be a group that desires more of life than has been given to them. They shocked the world last season, and I fully expect they'll want to do more of the same this time around. Hopefully without the baseball series loss to the Dodgers. I ask if you like with that. You all know the season has already started by the time this video is out. I'm also quite terrible with predicting certain things. It's been over 5 years and I still haven't learned. Well, you're all totally informed and more than likely Diet Slate's predictions of the season. My condolences to the 14th I have at the top. I regret nothing. The 2021 World Series today. So much that our players, coaches, and fans alike. Games nearly every other day in a mad dash for the finish. And the mountain only gets steeper with playoff hockey. Do you know what will help you get to this fantastic prize along with other events? That would be the sponsor of this video. See, I've been working with them for what seems like an age, and I've been using their app even longer. Live events are slowly coming back into view the summertime of hockey. You know what that includes, right? Playoff hockey. The greatest spectacle of the sports here in my unbiased opinion. SeatGeek stores all tickets available on a 1 to 10 scale and are color-coded for ease of view. Green means good, red means bad. But there really isn't a bad in a modern arena, right? SeatGeek isn't just for hockey, but for any sport, concert, or event that requires a ticket to get in. So let's just say you wanted tickets to the weekend, either the Creator, John Mayer, or any performer you can think of. SeatGeek can get you there while helping you not get screwed on big tickets. You should all know by now to use the code word FREE in the link below to save $20 off your first purchase. Live events are a spectacle to be cherished, and SeatGeek is your aid in helping you get the most out of them. Speaking of that, how does the NHL wish to get to that point? internal lockers from the draft video leading 19th successor to Tampa Bay Lightning. They're gunning for a very challenging task. There's no denying Tampa Bay has talent, but they need to flesh out their lineup for the playoffs. They need versatility and sanity, but the cost be dead. The two men they hope they have found their new Pullman and Goodrow, Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul. Both should be worthwhile contributors to the cause, but they cost a premium and a half to get. Hagel himself cost 2 firsts and 2 NHL regulars in Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk. However, he is under contract for the next few seasons at an affordable rate. His scoring touch should be critical for their depth. His ball is a bit cheaper, but the same dilemma, costing a fourth than Matthew Joseph. It's much easier to swallow when you realize the players traded were never going to get a chance to properly develop on the top 6. They assessed the situation and made the moves to get them ready for the big game. I'd say it was good work for what it's worth. They're going to need it in the division they're in. The Panthers are an outfit that have few rivals to their mind. However, one of them happens to be in the same damn state. It doesn't matter if they are already great, they need more. If they're heading right out into the postseason, they won't be tested even if it's not the worst-case scenario. Men like Robert Hagen and Sherrod were at the back end. Analytics outright despise them. Why Sherrod has the first rounder in the future. However, that isn't important in the grand scheme. What does is close the roof. For far too long, he was forced to toil on terrible fire squads while the team around him spews watery bile under the ice. Today, however, that will change. Guided Philly right towards the Panthers for a trade, where he will be plopped on a line with Barkov or Huberdeau. And it costs them next to nothing to do. I don't know how, but a deadly forward toward this guy gently. There are no excuses for Florida this season. They must get it done, regardless of human costs. If they don't, become a mockable target like this next team. I always felt like something was up with Toronto, even during their strong stretch. Somehow didn't feel sustainable. I could look at stat sheets and analytical charts for ages and still be unconvinced of their power. And in the past few months, we found the major flaw in their plan. Team goaltending has fallen to absolute shit. It's gone from a surprising strength to their biggest liability in nearly every contest. It's not even passable at this level. They can't make a save, they can't hold a lead. Things have gotten insanely dire in this run. Jack Campbell has fallen off the map, costing himself millions of dollars this offseason. Not to mention that he's injured for a few weeks. Peter Mrazek has unleashed bad Peter Mrazek from Slumber. He's been so well received that he was put on waivers, and not claimed by anyone. Injury starting to take hold, the Leafs brought another local boy home, Mark Giordano. He's not what he was, but him and Colin Blackwell should be good to shore up the depth. They didn't have to trade a first-round pick to do it. Too bad it does nothing about the goaltending. The plan was to sign Henry Terry from Europe. Before he was playing by Arizona off waiver. Now it's hope to God someone gains for him next. Even if it's David fucking Ayers. Ken Galdugas is having his office cleaned out by means of throwing his stuff off the balcony. Wonder if he can have a higher save percentage than his goalie. Bruins never die. We thought they were merely okay earlier in the year. This was before a sudden off-streak deep into February that has them knocking on Toronto and Tampa's door. We thought Jake DeBrusk was going to be on his way out. Little did we all know that he would revive the past form and sign an extension with the team. He wasn't traded. We thought Boston wouldn't break the bank for anything this year with how everything was going. Enter Hampus Lindholm. He struggled a bit this season, but his talent is undeniable. To get him, they need to open the vault. I think it's safe to say the metric system they traded is roughly opening several vaults. And they keep opening those vaults to give him an 8-year extension sight unseen. It's fair value for a second-pairing defenseman, but it's highly risky. Only if I had 100% confidence that Patrice Bergeron was going to be re-signed, I'd have more hope. Perhaps they should have tried to do something to fix their lack of center depth. All that's left to do is keep forming chemistry and shore up a few faults. The Atlantic is a death march. Not to say that the Metro is a place of game walks and field opponents. On the contrary, there are 4 teams fighting for a place at the table of the elite. Leading the way right now is Carolina, who are still playing with a form that's been teased in the past. Their wave of success has led them to keep pushing for true greatness. This very company, their eternal trophy for winning the Battle of Aho was extended for 8 more years of Tante Montreal. As for help with the deadline, the choice for them was in Max Domi. Followed a favor in Columbus, and he didn't cost much, so besides whatever, it was worth a shot. A goes for the Rangers, who are second in total right now. New York is emerging, but the goal for them was to solidify the depth at bottom six. The likes of Angus Cobb, Tyler Mott, Frank Toronto, and Justin Braun, they have accomplished just that. Cobb and Mott should instantly aid the bottom six. Toronto is solid scoring depth. Braun is a viable defender in his own right. The future sauce wasn't cheap either. As long as this Jordan keeps up his scoring pace, New York should be a viable opponent. Same might be said for Pittsburgh, but the Penguins were in a bit of a pickle with the salary cap on a roster with some holes. Nobody was able to score alongside Evgeny Malkin. This year is critical to their juncture. Ethan Beaulieu is in the knot. They must make a splash. They did with Rickard Rakell, who should move right to Malkin's way. Price was steep. The Penguins may not get another chance after this, especially with Malkin hanging around potentially getting free agency this offseason. Perhaps they went for more of a nostalgic play. Johan Larsson is to get to the bottom six, but look who they brought back! Mojo! The real one, not the imitator they got now. Johansson could find his form with Washington again. He will be a tremendous asset. 4 Metro playoff contenders are all but set, but there is still much to fight for. Positioning is critical. None of them will make it easy on the other. It's good news for the rest of us, but not for any of the teams in question. Figured even for their shitty season, Philadelphia would at least get the deadline. Talk of almost no one, this was botched as well. I'll give them a pass for closure room. He was the franchise face for almost a decade, and the Flyers squandered a good chunk of his career. Philly was never going to sign him, but he had control of where he wanted to go thanks to his no movement clause. There were probably significantly better deals on the table, but Giroux wanted to go to Florida. Flyers had no leverage. Therefore, they only received a first, a third, and no one Tippett who was obsolete in Florida's system. It doesn't matter if Tippett reaches his potential, it's still a bad look in a year full of them. The only other things they did were trade depth pieces for mid-round picks. If you want to know what's funnier than throwing significant futures for Rasmus Ristolainen? Doubling down on said foolish decision by extending him for 5 more years. The rest of the Metro celebrates your desperation. Your rivals congratulate you on this decision. The rest of the Eastern Conference was a combination of truth selling and people who didn't know what the hell they were doing. Someone like Detroit, you're probably happy with yourself. Solid returns from the likes of Nick Leddy and depth pieces, while keeping Tyler Bertuzzi is a plus for them, even if the consistency is next to nothing these days. On the other hand, you get the Islanders, who did nothing. Extended Cal Clutterbuck and Zach Parise. That was it. Okay. Columbus was in the same boat, but at least they can argue their team is dummy got something from Max Domi. What about New Jersey? What did they do besides stand pat? Doesn't sound like the prices being offered for their players. Maybe you're someone like a Montreal who got really nice hauls for the pieces they sold as predicted, especially the Lehkonen and Sherratt returns. Very solid. None are up here, but they can finally begin to clean up from the horrible score. Say the same for Ottawa and Buffalo. Buffalo didn't have much to trade. They're still trying to build from nothing, so I'll let them go for that. Ottawa, though, not just selling pieces, but they traded a third-round pick for Travis Kaepernick, who was on waivers a few months ago. I think it's 2018 or something. I don't get it. And at least get what Colorado is trying to do. Bolster everything they can to get past the dreaded second round. Lest they become the next great meme of the hockey world, the Avs know they cannot squander this golden opportunity. The team they present is excellent. However, that doesn't mean anything if they sit the bank on playoff time. When everyone else adds, they must counter with more adding. Josh Manson from Anaheim to further solidify the defensive form, ultimately at a discounted rate. The second piece is Arturi Lehkonen from Montreal. He caused a good big blow. Since one of their better prospects is Justin Barron. Add a second rounder to that. Very steep bill for a middle six forward, but it's a pay-to-play game. Getting more diving with the bottom six with Nico Sturman and Andrew Fogliano is useful as well, but the goal has always been the same. Playoff success. There is nothing else to be said. We'll speak further in April. Minnesota, on the other hand, isn't as formidable as Colorado, but they have the potential to make noise if everything goes according to plan. They will be fucked by the Sugar and Parise buyout next year, so the time is now. It has to be. And they need to secure a top prize to have any chance at glory. So there's something a bit out of left field, but it's an instant upgrade at next. Marc-Andre Fleury. Flower is free from the bullshit of Chicago. And that's in his prestige school while team eager to upend the top dogs in the West. It did cost some couple continents to him being obsolete, but Jacob Middleton was fetched from San Jose to act as a defensive core. Out of Tyson Ghost in the hopes that he lives up to his first round pedigree, you have an intriguing group. Minnesota is trying to make themselves known. And they might be running out of time, especially against their rivals in the Central. St. Louis and Nashville are in the same tier as Minnesota. Solid teams that are considered to be creme de la creme, but can make deep runs if everything plays into place. Both of these squads know this and act accordingly. I do object to the moves they've made, though. The Blues in their quest to shore up the defensive pairings traded for Nick Leddy. That's great. If this were 2 seasons ago, Leddy has been awful. The price they made was very steep, including a defenseman who played well with Bennington with the net. 3 goals for a gamble last day. Nothing else done, however. Those for great things catch fire like 2019. French are in the same style of thinking. Renaissance from key players and young prospects has put them back in an intriguing position. In USA they trust. They confirmed it by acquiring defensive help in Jeremy Lazon for a second-round pick. A second for Jeremy Lazon. This is what we come to these days. I don't mind Lazon, but for that price, that's more than a Phil Forsberg allowed to walk in free agency over the summer. By the way, good luck on that. If the team's not in the middle like the Stars and the Jets, they would have believed that they're still relevant in the grand scheme on our radio. They fail to realize that the windows are fading. It would be best selling on assets. I'll give Winnipeg credit, they somewhat tried to do. They got a nice offer in to top, however, they decided to bring back Jason Appleton and trade for his backs and Jets are a mess. This deadline is just confirmed. You don't know where to go. They're just drifting away, hoping for a miracle. Dallas is worse off. The keeping John Spencer because they're close to a playoff spot, they fail to understand that their goaltending situation is officially. Appleton and Bilbin and Braden Holtby are both on LTIR, so they brought in Scott Westwood as an emergency option. With that quick fix, another defense first third liner in Vladislav Nemesnikov. Stars don't have enough of that in their lineup. I get the predicament. They realized the truth and sold at the deadline everyone was getting fired. Dallas is trying to save jobs, but it's at the expense of their future. Be careful. Limbo is the same culture that the Red Wings had for years. Jim Hill should know this. Let's go into more positive situations, like Calgary. Don't know how it happened, but we're finally seeing it. Calgary Flames are playing up to their potential. Incredibly shitty punts aside, the Flames are on a hot streak that hasn't been seen in a good bit. Everything is humming like a bird. Jeremy Sutter hasn't been apostle his first year, but adaptive and the right coach for this situation. They look like contenders. Holy shit, Calgary, you did it! You stopped underachieving. Everyone give them a round of applause. I won't be impressed at their run, but I'll see the same thing I said to Toronto. In a playoff series, and then we'll discuss your cup ending. And bringing in the likes of Tyler Toffoli and Kalle Youngbrook, I'm confident they can put up a valiant effort in doing so. They're going to do this, right? It won't be like 2019 again. Please say it won't. Vegas is a cautionary tale. They are what happens when you go to the casino too often and keep juggling down on your losses in an attempt to hit the jackpot. Pray for miracles, but regardless of what you do, you go bust. On paper, the Knights are a good team, but that's if everything goes according to plan. The problem is that it hasn't. They're absolutely wrecked. The vast majority of their core is injured, some of them long-term. Vegas doesn't have anywhere near the depth to compensate for it due to years of all their pushes that have failed. Jack Eichel is back with surgery, but it's nowhere near enough. What do they do with that? Robin Lehner might be out for the rest of the season. Well, it'd be awful nice to have someone like Fleury. He isn't here to save you. Mark Stone was put on LTIR for reasons of cap circumvention. And their next move was to try and finagle more cap space. Meaning that Donald was supposed to go to Anaheim with a second-round pick for John Moore and Ryan Kessler's contract. However, there was a problem. Jenny has a limited no-trade clause in his contract. Anaheim was a team on that list. Legal wrangling continued on for days. Donald was adamant that the list was given to the Knights. But Vegas played dumb and tried to get it passed on a technicality. Regardless of which team was involved, the NHL did not buy their excuse. The trade was voided. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for the Aquaman Union with the guy they tried to trade with a draft pick just to get rid of. They needed that cap space too. Now the Knights are in a dark skid and seemingly ripe for the carrion bird. All they've done is fuck over players, and now they're the ones getting fucked. Nobody in the hockey world feels sympathy for their fights. I believe we should support the real victim in this saga. Right, that's contracts. It seems like Edmonton, LA, and Vancouver didn't do all that much to change what they were in the deadline. The Oilers still have goaltending issues, but are still trying in vain to solidify team depth. The next bodies to add on to the first pile are 2018 trade deadline signing Derek Brassard and Brett Kulak. They're carrying defensemen in George hand. They have been on a nice hot streak as of late, though. At least some. LA cannot say the same thing. They didn't do much of anything besides a few minor league trades. It's also considering that they're expected with the same thing Vegas had. Their lineup, particularly the defensive core, is getting picked off by injury one by one. Fortunately, the Kings are still doing well. I guess that's why they chose to stand pat. Vancouver is in a strange spot as well. They are still paying for the sins of their early struggles. Playoff models have no faith in their efforts, but they're still only a couple points out of a spot. Guys like JT Miller, Brock Besser, and Connor Garland were being thrown around in rumors, but none of them were moved. They simply brought in Travis Dermott from Toronto and traded Tyler Mott and Travis Hamonic. So no real damage done. Is it the right move? Maybe, but they're in a better spot than they were 4 months ago. Although that's not saying much. Picking up the caboose of the Western Conference, we have Anaheim, Arizona, Seattle, and San Jose. You may be asking, wasn't Anaheim doing well this season? Why are they on this list? That answer is quite simple. They're not only tumbling down the cliff, they're riding down the mine shaft of hell. It was a promising start, but this rebuild shows us that the Ducks aren't ready for prime time just yet. However, they got solid returns for what they surrendered. Hampus Lindholm got a haul. You just wonder what they could have gotten if they traded Josh Manson and Rickard Rakell a few years earlier. They'd have been salivating at the opportunity for it. Even then, what's done is done, and they did well, all things considered. San Jose? What can you say about them? They're a lost cause. They're trapped in a prison of their own doing. And while some players have revived themselves, it still isn't enough due to a combination of factors. Tomas Hertl was going to be a free agent. With the windfall from Evander Kane's release, he received the time-honored tradition of Doug Wilson. An 8-year extension. The bells of long-term security ring out in joy. For Tomas is an excellent player worthy of it. Hindsight, Seattle was overhyped thanks to the massive success Vegas had and is experiencing difficult expansion growth. Fortunately, they were able to sell off quite a few pieces and have a decent number of future picks. Not to mention, Jared McCann's played well enough to be extended to a 5x5. I like him. Good work. They can sleep at night by saying, at least I'm not Arizona. Yes, they're still selling off whatever isn't stuck to the floor, but they have managed to keep Phil Kessel to themselves. Too bad he won't be able to enjoy the new college stadium that ASU is building. They will be playing in that stadium for at least 3 years? The Tempe proposal hasn't even been approved yet. What the fuck are you doing? But wait a second, they managed to get solid futures like Jack McBain, Nathan Smith, and Brian Little's contracts. Things may still be okay for them. Maybe. That's a rather underwhelming trade deadline for what it's worth. I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something in all of this. And something.
But on the road, the Devils are pretty skilled at getting the matchup launched, and this is a shutdown line. Makes the best in the league.
It's an old goal.
During the offseason, they got huge places and seem to be terrible contracts, but you can't just not try. Oliver Ekman Larson and Tucker Pullman. A fantastic time to approach, my friend. The NHL season is beginning. 82 games of speed and adrenaline. And the best of all, fans will be allowed back in at every stadium. Thank God there won't be any more soda scavengers with a hockey game being played in them, knock on wood. The resale market is buzzing with activity nowadays. They can help ensure you aren't getting shafted by high prices. Their app needs little inspection. Sorts all tickets from red to green on a 1 to 10 scale to gauge the value of the sale. The higher the score, the better the deal. You get views from where you'll be sitting before you buy. You even get scanned in the games on the app itself. And as always, don't forget to use the code word FREE to save $20 off your first purchase. I've always been an advocate for watching hockey first. An atmosphere that television can't convey. Now may be the chance to see for yourself. If you're willing to take the plunge, do it with the And remember to thank them for sponsoring this video. I forgot to say that there are 32 teams to preview this night. That'd be a good thing to talk about in this video, right? Anaheim, wake up. Did you seriously sleep all offseason? Have you guys done anything to address the issues on the team? Wake up to take a piss, sign Ryan Getzlaff for another round and go back to pay? Whatever happened to being proactive? You have another goalie to replace Ryan Miller? The game plan is to hope the youth develops and rub on a patch before sleep? I don't like being lazy too, but the Ducks have far too many concerns to do this. At least we'll get to see Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale for a full season. Or Dallas Higgins somehow ruins them. Seems to be the case for a huge chunk of their prospects so far. I've never seen the end of Terminator 3. It's a forgettable movie, I know, but in the end everything is nuked to hell, cementing the rise of Skynet. Skynet must have gotten the nuclear codes to Arizona's arsenal. The whole team was collapsed from a war base. They had to do it too. They were fringe playoff contenders, and John Jacob dug an irreparable hole with his snake oil version of analytics. Ironically, they did what Jacob did and took on a bunch of terrible contracts for first and second round picks. They also got out of some really awful contracts of their own, so that's a plus for them. It's going to be an ugly year for the Ducks. And it might get ugly. The team's move to Glendale has been a disaster that has done nothing but bleed hundreds of millions of dollars. Seeing an endless money pit, Glendale has ended up in stinging out their delinquent tenant after this season. The Yotes say they want to stay in Arizona, and they're trying the Tempe option again. All $1.7 billion of it. Get a burden with the municipality, you say. You know where else they tried this? Glendale. Good luck with that. That run seems so far away these days. Despite remaining relatively stable, this is a year of flux for the Bruins. 4 pieces of the core and David Krejci and Tuukka Rask are gone. And the potential of losing Patrice Bergeron after this year is still a possibility. Boston has tried many pieces and things to solve the awful production from the bottom 6. Besides little blips on the radar, all attempts have failed. Including Moss and McAvoy, where's the future core coming from? Bringing back Taylor Hall was a plus, but a lot of their draft picks have either been traded away or haven't panned out. They've splurged on bottom 6 options, so hopefully step aside, but this is patching up a temporary problem. Let us all market this shit together, but hope that needs to be sold for a while. That core is only getting older, and continuing to fade away. This is a crucial year for them. Not too many will feel bad if they fall off, especially in Toronto. Even as Boston feels distraught about their current situation, they have one thing that keeps them warm at night. They aren't the Buffalo Sabres. What a fucking terrible organization. Whenever you think things can't go lower for them, they not only drop the bar, they transport it beneath the ground. The situation with Jack Eichel has reached an impasse. The Cold War has only grown colder as Buffalo still demands too much for a guy who has injury concerns. Eichel wants one type of surgery to fix it, but the Sabres are useless and hate risk. So they want him to have a different type of surgery that will still leave him in pain. Unsurprisingly, nothing was done by either side but shitting pain. So let me get this straight. Eichel is visibly injured. He arrives to his physical and the Sabres do the surprise Pikachu base when he fails it? It's like he needed fucking surgery! Like all great organizations, Buffalo does the noble move and strips Eichel of the captaincy. Incredible. They tank his great value so much that it's a pittance of his talent. Sabres wouldn't